Right, just like whatever one they don't have a song. So then you could choose. Yeah. Choose one of them. Yeah. You just look at it. So then go ahead and say your code. And you're gonna play this down. You go back. And I'll play this. So you still have to make it do the same thing you do. Create, you know, but yeah, once they tell you they're back, yeah, or which is open it first. Oh, yeah. So you can either close, if they say you can't fill the order, you can close it. Or you can go down here, go down here. This is what you input and check. Close it. And print it out. Have you tried printing it out? Well, it just, we just. Close it out. So that was the last one.
Okay, if you haven't logged in, please log into QuickBooks. And in case you didn't get the email or didn't see it, they did open up the registration for advanced. So you can certainly sign up for that. Got plenty of time though. And then in 3 weeks, they'll open up Microsoft Office. So if you want to do that one. And then Microsoft Office works the same way, except you get a license to Microsoft Office, but you can do it here or online or both. And no cost. And at least for that one, the license lasts 3 years. The QuickBooks one is only 1 year, but the Microsoft is 3 years. And I know at the end of the year in QuickBooks, they ask you to renew and pay for it. In Microsoft, we haven't had anybody hit the 3-year license mark yet. Actually, it should be coming up pretty soon. So I think what they'll do is just extend it because they're trying to get it out there first before they really start selling it. But you can buy it. I get junk mail all the time about how it's Microsoft Office 365 on sale. So when we left Thursday, I could not find a report. And I couldn't find it because it's not there. I went through everything. So I went through after you guys left. I thought, I'm going to find it. So I found something, a workaround. And so did our online student, Victor. He sent me an email. He said, I found this. And he's right. There is another way to do it. But it used to be one little button. Now it takes a few buttons. And in fact, we're going to customize a report. And remember, the problem was, how do you find just the purchase orders that you have canceled, right? Either canceled in full or canceled partially. So we did one Thursday. Let's do another one. So we'll just go through the process. So we're going to go to Get Paid and Pay. Let's go to Vendors. And I'm going to pick any vendor, use them a drop-down list, create purchase order. And of course, at this point, it's exactly the same as we've been doing. So I'll pick my product, and I'm going to do multiples of the product. Or you could do multiple products, either way. Just something, if you only order one, you can't split that. And I'm going to order 50. All right, so I'll purchase order first. Yeah. This will work with bills, but there actually is a report for bills. So I'll save and close the purchase order.
So you just did one item, right?
Yeah, you could do 2 items, but I did multiples. I did 50 teddy bears. So you could do that too. Or if you want to do 2 items, because we did that the other way. So you will see, just like normal, we have one purchase order up here. So I'm going to go and receive partial. So now I'll create the bill off this purchase order. Down here. Just one. Yes, because I'm going to show you how to find the ones that have been closed. And then I'm going to grumble about how they took away my report. I still can't believe they did that. It must be that nobody uses this. Because to me, I was giving this scenario, one of the uses of this is in a larger company where you're working for somebody, the boss might say, why are we out of whatever the product is? And you want to have some kind of records for it. So anyway, that's all right. Anything you can't do, easily, we'll find a way around it. And actually, we're going to make it easy. So you'll see. So I'm going to add, just like we do, the normal purchase order. But this time, instead of 50, I'm going to say they sent 5. So you want to make it short. Okay, so I got 5. They owe me 45. And I'll save and close. So this is just like we did Thursday with that one short purchase order. So one thing we're going to do differently is before we pay the bill, I'm going to go back to that purchase order again. It's ABC Warehouse. Oops. Let's go back to that. I could do it from clicking on the vendor and load all the transactions, but this is a little more obvious. So I click on my blue one purchase order and see it still says one purchase order remaining right here. So I'm going to click that. That'll pop open the purchase order. So I see the bill, that was for my 5, and the purchase order underneath it. Click on that, and there it is. So they called up. Yes, you received 5. Sorry, that's all you're going to get. We don't have them anymore. Cancel the purchase, the rest of the purchase order. So now remember, there's 2 options. One, I can click the close box right here or up here, because this does cancel or close the entire purchase order. Then I would put in the memo, canceled by vendor. Now, the way we're going to have to do this is actually important. Spelling in the word canceled is important. You can't use the word closed because all the purchase orders we received in full are also quote unquote closed. So closed is a common term, and you want to find one that's not common. So I use canceled. If you want to come up with another term, it's fine. Any synonym will work, but you want to find one that's not commonly used for something else. Because what we're going to do is we're going to create a report that's going to look for that word. So if you start using the word canceled, always use the word canceled. Canceled by boss, canceled by distributor. But the word canceled is what we're going to search for. Okay? Yeah.
Okay, so I wrote canceled by vendor.
Yeah.
But on I ordered 10 rent capacitors, but only 5 came.
Good.
So I have to change it on here.
No, you don't change the number.
Because that's a purchase order.
Oh, but you do bring up a good point. If you don't mind saying that, you could change the purchase order. You can edit the purchase order and change the quantity. The problem with doing that, though, is you're going back and changing history. Did you order 5? No, you ordered 10, but they couldn't do 5. So if you want to keep the history pure, you can do it this way. If you do it your way, you don't have to close it. It looks like they fulfilled the purchase order in full. And you could still put a note down here that I modified the quantity and whatever. But usually what happens is once you send the purchase order and the vendors received it, that's official, right? So you want to keep that history, and that's what we're doing.
So just save and close.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, we just haven't done it yet. But you'll find out, because I'm going to save and close.
No.
You'll say, are you sure you want to modify it? Yes, we are.
yes. No. I closed it down here.
You can use a check mark that says closed, or
No, I didn't, because I think I was not there yet.
okay. So when you go to vendors, look at your purchase orders here. It should be 0.
No. Oh,
If you still see one purchase order, it means it wasn't closed.
right now. Oh.
Yeah. So you can always go back to it. So mine was ABC Warehouse. I can click on ABC Warehouse,
But
and I can click on my purchase order again here.
we didn't change the amount.
No.
yet.
We're not going to change the amount at all. We already received half of it.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
So that changes the amount. It changes the amount you're going to get off this purchase order. Sometimes you don't want to leave your purchase orders hanging out more than like 90 days. So if they say, yeah, we're going to get, like in my case, teddy bears, they're coming in, but it's going to be 6 months. I say, okay, we'll just cancel this and I'll close, or I'll send you a new purchase order when we're ready. Okay, so you can always go back to the vendor and see all the transactions. And right here, you'll see the memo. I've got the word canceled. I go back to my vendors. I do have that one open bill because I got to pay for the ones I did receive. So we'll go ahead and do that. Say one open bill here.
When you call the purchase order after, you create a bill?
You can do it either way, because you're gonna find out when you get the bill, you're gonna know, gee, I ordered 50, I only have 5, I'm only getting billed for 5. So, hey vendor, what's up? Let's say they didn't call you at all, right? You call them and say, look, I just got this. We got 5 teddy bears. What's up? Oh, I forgot to tell you, we're not gonna get the, see, like that. So you get that kind of scenario. So at the point that you receive whatever you're gonna get, you're gonna know what the outcome is of the rest of them, unless they're not answering their phone calls or something. So that's kind of the point you decide. Don't want to just go ahead and process the bill first, or cancel the purchase order, then process the bill. We canceled the purchase order this time. Now we're going to process the bill. Because they still get paid, even though they shorted you, they still get paid for what they sent. That's only fair. So I'm going to click on this one open bill. There it is. And we'll make a payment. Yeah, just like we've done before, because this is just a legit payment. There it is. The bill for my 5 teddy bears. I owe them. I do look again just to be sure, because it's a good habit that is coming out of basic checking. That's good. And save and close. Okay, so now we have 2 that are marked canceled, one from Thursday, one from today. The question was, how do you get a report to show just those? Here's how. It used to be, back in the good old days, when I was a kid, one button, there was a simple report right on top of everything else. You just clicked it and it showed closed purchase orders, unfulfilled purchase orders, or something like that. So whatever reason, QuickBooks in its wisdom has removed that. So now I'm going to go to business overview. I'm going to go to the reports. Let's click business overview and reports. But this is where Victor noticed, and I found it. We're going to customize a report and make our own. So QuickBooks is going to be that way. I'm just going to go ahead and make our own. So you have to scroll down. And it's under the accountant here, for my accountant. Let's see this one. And we're going to use transaction detail by account. So you look for this one. The other way to find this is you can always type up here the word transaction. And there's detail by. All the transaction detail. We want transaction detail by account. So 2 ways to get you to the same spot. As you scroll down, you'll see all the stuff. As it loads. And this is too much. But if you scroll down, and keep going, keep going, keep going. You will find the purchase orders. I don't see it either now. That was the one, right? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Okay, that was it. My bad. See, I've already lost it. It's transaction list by vendor. I knew it had the word transaction in it, but I messed up. So, sorry. So you can back out, go back to reports. And I think it's under the vendors.
Transaction list.
By vendor.
By vendor?
Yeah, if you go to expenses and vendors
Oh, expenses.
and vendors. So see this group? Or again, you could type it out. And I click it.
Quick purchases by vendor.
Transaction list by vendor. So go back. Yeah.
Okay.
See the title here? Yeah, now you see the purchase order. But again, we just want to show the ones that are canceled. But that's the report. And as you scroll down, you could find, like here, here's one we did. Here's a canceled from February 2nd, right? So you can do it that way. However, we can take it a step further. Here's the today, canceled by vendor on the 6th. Okay. So here's what else we can do. We can take any of QuickBooks' reports and modify them. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to take this as our basis of a report. In the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see the cog, the wheel. So that allows us to make changes. I'm going to click on the settings. I'm going to click on show more. So for this report, I don't need like the posting date. So I'm going to turn that off, a check mark. I need definitely to have this memo turned on because that's what we're going to make the search basis. So make sure memo's checked. It's right under change columns. Yeah, now what happened is, like on my screen, there's not enough room here because memo/description is too long. So it slips it under here, like a wraparound. It's kind of hard to find, but make sure you got that turned on. And I can tell it's turned on because when I go back to my report, you can see it here, this column. So that's what you want most of all. And if you want, you could drop the account or even the dollar amount, but we'll leave those on. The next button we want to hit is customize. Click customize here. Now remember, I told you, any report QuickBooks has already built in, you can't change permanently. In other words, I can't change the custom list by vendor report, but I can create a new report off of their report. And that's what we're going to do. So at the top, I want it to default to all dates. So report period will be all dates. Then here comes the fun part, filter. So filter means you're going to keep some stuff in and exclude other stuff.
Can you go back to there?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So
Yeah. Okay,
at the
so-
top,
Hold on. I was at the.
you want to see this for sure.
oh, you find-
Actually, this too, transaction type and memo.
Got
Okay,
it.
yeah.
Never mind.
Okay. Yeah, once you scroll down, that customize disappears. So you have to go back to the top,
Okay.
customize. And then I said, we're going to do all dates. Now we could do this month to date, but this hopefully you won't have too many canceled purchase orders. But this is one of those things, if you do, and it ends up getting too much information again, you know, you can modify it here this year or whatever. But for our part, it's going to work well. So it's grouped by vendor, which means it's going to show all the cancel reports by vendor, all the ABC report, all the ABC cancellations, all the XYZ, etc. I said, to show those, we're going to do filter. Now we don't have to do this part, we can just use that report. So by the way, if you ever work for somebody or do yourself and you say, I'm not going to mess with it, I'll just use a transaction list. That works fine too. You can also use the search feature. But we want a report to automatically do it for us. So I'm going to click on filter. So these are all the things where you can exclude, like here with vendors, you can exclude certain vendors, include certain vendors. You could do certain accounts. If you just wanted to show the report for the terms that are due on receipt, you could. We're going to leave all those alone. But just so you know that you can make all kinds of changes. The one thing we want to do though is memo. Oops. By clicking it, it jumped up here to the top. And in this box, we're going to put in the word canceled. Remember I said the spelling counts? So you click the check mark for memo, and then it pops up here in filter, because it's actually already doing some filters. So when I turn it off, memo's down here. And as soon as I put a check mark, it says, okay, you want to include memo? I'll put it up here, and I have to scroll up. I'll put a word canceled. No, you could turn that off. Because it's going to be a purchase order. So this is the most important part. And actually, I don't think it's going to show up at all because you won't have checks off purchase order. It's okay. You can turn it off too, or you can leave it on. The important part is memo, and then I'm going to run report. Ta-da! Yeah. So I'm also going to change the name of this report because it's no longer just a transaction list by vendor. So next to your name up here at the top, you should see a little pencil. When you hover over it, the name comes from how you named your store. If you wanted to change this report name for the store, you can. It won't permanently change your name. I don't want to do that. I do want to change canceled purchase order list as the name of my report. And you can call it anything you want. Whatever helps you to remember what it is. Okay. Now I'm going to click the box that says Save Customization. When you do, again, I'll ask you for the report name. Now, because I changed it on the report, it pops up here, canceled purchase order list. You can actually, if you do this a lot for a lot of different reasons, you can set up groups. Like if you wanted to create your own reports by vendors, a whole bunch of vendor reports, and then a whole bunch of customer reports. You can group them together so they're a lot easier to find. We're not going to be so advanced, but you can add a new group here. You can also set it to share if your QuickBooks is linked with other people using the same company. Then you can tell it to share to all, and it will send them a note and say, we got this fancy new report you can check out. But again, we're not doing that. I'm just going to click Save. And then you should get a little flash at the top. Custom report saved successfully.
Where's the save?
Right here under Save Customization. And then you click Save down here. And then real quick, it should pop up at the top that it's done. So now I'm going to go back to my report list. Okay, that was the hard work. Now comes the payoff. So I come over and I say, oh, I'd like to see all the canceled vendor purchase orders. Here's my reports, just like normal. I'm going to click on Custom Reports here. Yeah. There's my report. And now when I want to see everybody who's got the word cancel in memo, I'm going to click on Cancel Purchase Order List. There they are.
So everything that we're going to do from now on show up on that list?
Only if you put the word canceled in memo, because QuickBooks is difficult. So that's the key. And I was thinking when I was deciding how we're going to do this, you could use the search term cancel without the ED, and all the canceleds will show up, as well as if you accidentally just use the word cancel. But I wasn't going to be that picky. And if that happens, you can just go and edit it and check out the ED, and then we'll show the word canceled. So now, oops, if you run into like a customer invoice that you need to cancel, you want to put that in there, the word cancel.
Oh,
So it's showing, show more. Yeah, scroll back, cut it off. That's nice. So we're going to filter. Okay, now pop that to the top so you can scroll back up. Yeah, so memo. That box, type in the word. Cancel. Okay. Now run report. So click on that. Yeah. Yeah. Save that's what they did. Now, okay, so go back to report list. Double click it, and we'll run it. You're welcome. Now, just to be clear, this is not an official purchase order report. It's searching for that keyword canceled, meaning if we do a transaction, so you're going to take a customer, a wealthy customer, you're going to take them to the Taylor Swift concert. You bought tickets, then they canceled it, right? So then you put on the note on the check, canceled. It's going to show up on this list. If you put it, because that check had a memo, and if that's where you put the word canceled, anything with the word cancel. So although we have labeled this the canceled purchase order list, any incidence of the word canceled in memo is going to throw it onto this list. No, if I okay, here's another one. Let's say I get a new vendor and they're called Canceled Incorporated. Every time I refer to their names, updated by Canceled Incorporated, that word canceled, that's all the computer looks at. It's not very smart. It's just looking for that, the set of letters together. That's a word in that search term. Now, anybody really named Canceled as a business? No. But just so you know, that's the way we're doing it this way is a workaround, but that's all it is. It's not an official report like it used to be, but it works. And every time we have that phrase. So the other thing too is when you close a report, if you want to use this, you have to type in the word canceled in the memo somewhere. You don't, even when you run this report, it won't catch it. It won't be included. So it's looking for that key phrase. So too, if you find that you do use cancel a lot for other things, then you can go back, come up with another word, rejected. Some other synonym, but don't use the word closed because QuickBooks does use closed a lot. So the purchase orders are open, then they're all closed if they're fully received. But now we just generated our own report. And there you go. And like I said, you can do that with all these reports. You can customize them any way you want. You can't change, like the open invoices report, I can't change that report, but I can call it Dan's open invoices and save it here, and then we'll show up under custom reports. Any questions on what we did and why we had to do this? But, you know, it's good to know how to modify these reports. You know, there's, as I think I mentioned before, that this works well with Excel. So as much as you can modify all these reports, you can also set a report to export itself into an Excel worksheet. And then from Excel, run different reports. So like even this report, I'll run it now. See the dollar amounts? You could fiddle with it some more if you say, I only want to see the canceled purchase orders over $100, right? On the other hand, just export this to Excel, and then if you know Excel, do that instead. Just kind of whatever your preference is. So any questions on why we had to do that? Here's the problem though, is we don't do this very often, modifying reports. And so when you need to modify a report again, you'll think, how did I do that again? So just practice. And just remember this customize, and then do remember if you want to keep it to save customization. Because if you don't, I think though, if you don't save the customization, you'll lose it. And let's say, I want to change that. Okay. I think if I just close it, it's going to warn me. No. Oh, see what I did? Change a little thing. I put an exclamation point after my company name. Minor thing. It's not like Word and Excel where if you try to close it without saving it, it warns you, do you want to save this? It let me write out. Look at that. So it didn't ask me. So you have to make sure you click that save button. Otherwise it's gone forever. So that was a lot of work. Well, there's a lot of work in the beginning. Now it's easy. Now, as long as you have this, you can always run that report. So that's the thing with reports. It takes some planning and thinking ahead of time. But once you have it done, the computer is very good at just running it again and again the more you need it. Oh, the other thing I wanted to look. See here, I got the date range. So that means when I run the report, it's going to default to that. At the top, but I can still change it. So I want to say today, run report. See, only today's. So that's, we only set up the default. The other option is if you ever need to change it, you've always got this edit button in the right hand corner, and delete. If you ever decide I don't need this, just go ahead and delete it. So here we go in the settings again and make changes. All right, let's go back to our vendors and let's practice that. So let's make 3 additional purchase orders. Receive half of their items. So make them for quantities or multiple line items. And then we're going to split them. So receive half of their items and pay the bills. Close the remaining purchase orders. So I'm going to go to General Supply Warehouse and create purchase order. So ABC didn't have teddy bears, so let's try General Supply. See if they can do it. And then I'll put another line here. Fidget spinners. And then once again, if you want to do all purchase orders at once, you can, or do one, receive the bill, close it, pay it, and then close the purchase order.
After purchasing, we need to pay the bill.
You're going to receive the bill, yes. And then when you receive the bill, short it. They're not going to do them in full. So I did all my three together. So I have 3 purchase orders here. So you can click on that and create bills. And then don't forget to use the word cancel. Here, after I add the bill, here's where I get to decide how much did they short me. Oh, so these people came through the teddy bears, but those fidget spinners, they only did 7. So I'm going to be short. So I'm going to save and close. And then I'm going to click on the one open purchase order. So you always go back to, it'll still show as an open purchase order. So I have that active. I know I was working with General Supply. And then where it says open purchase order, one open purchase order here. And it brings up General Supplies transactions. And there's my purchase order. Yes, click on that and it reopens the purchase order. And you'll see I received 10. That line was closed, good job. But only 7 on the purchase order for fidget spinners came in. So I'm going to close it. This time I'll close it here. You could also close it at the top. I'm going to do right now. I'll give them an excuse due to supply chain. Or what do we say the other day? COVID-19. It was COVID-19 did it again. So I'll say due to supply chain or whatever. Sometimes if I've talked to a person, I always try to put the person's name in so I can remember who I talked to 6 months from now, and then save and close. And then it warns me, you sure you want to modify this transaction? Yes, we are. Don't blame me, QuickBooks. I didn't short it. So now if I want, I can finish that vendor off by paying its bill.
So you save it, close it?
Mhm. I did save and close. Then I came back and they're off my purchase order list, but now I've got them as an open bill. So I'll go ahead and make the payment. Save and close. Make sure it's a checking account. And go do that for the other 2 purchase orders. So on Max, Marvelous Emporium. Shorted me on the puppy leashes. I'm gonna say this one only shorted me 1. By the way, at the bill level, I could put a note here, they're canceled. The only thing is, when I do it in the purchase order again, it means it'll show up twice, yeah.
So now
At the bill or the purchase order? Okay, here you don't have to. That's what I was just saying. If I put the word canceled here, this is with the good part. Right? The canceled the bad part. So the good part, everything's fine. The bill's fine. You don't have to put it here. In fact, if I do, I'll just say it. I'll watch what happens when I do. It's going to show up twice. It's going to show up once as a bill and once as a purchase order. So I want to save and close. Yeah. So I still have the open purchase order. There it is. And you see, I ordered 22, but only got 21. I received 21. So sorry. One short is one short. So just to be different, this time I'll go up here and close it this way. And then save and close. Yes, I want to save it. So one more. Now keep in mind, we're doing all these transactions within 10 minutes of each other. And usually this is over days. So I'm adding these. This time, again, to be different. So order 12 fans, 22 leashes. They're going to short both. In this case, only one leash. So I'll save and close. So now I go back to their purchase order. Here it is. The way we're doing this, it's always the second item down. So it makes it a little easier to find. So they did send some of each item. So to save myself a check mark, I'm going to use the top closed option. And I'll put in memo canceled by vendor. So you're sure? Yes. So if you don't put cancel, you can still find it. It's not the transaction's lost forever. It's just a little easier to find based on this. Then I need to pay the 2 open bills.
On the, this is the, where do you write cancel?
On the purchase order itself,
Oh, the purchase, okay.
because the order is still outstanding in the air.
Okay, but when you're doing the bill, it's on the memo, it should say that already, right?
No,
Oh, okay.
you could, but they're not canceling the bill, right? They're canceling the purchase order. The bill is fine for what it is. I mean, it's short, but it's still fine. It by itself, it's fine. So if it helps to think that way, you know, the bill's happy. The purchase order is sad because purchase order didn't get complete. But just to anticipate your request, on one of my bills, I did do it just so you can see what happens. It doesn't hurt anything. I mean, it's still information. So if you're looking at the bill, you'd see it. And what in the real world scenarios, what you would do, okay, again, the question comes up, why did we end up short pencils? So you say, okay, let's look at the history of the pencils. Now, if you can remember the vendor, you can go that way. If you look at their bills under the vendor, you'll see your little memo. In fact, when I click, I think it was the max. When I click here, see, there's my bill canceled by vendor, right? So I did it wrong. I didn't do it wrong, but I did it differently. So if you wanted it to show up here, the thing is, usually it's by item. You know, pencils, we need pencils. Okay, I don't have to remember who the vendor is. I need to look up my pencil item. In the old system, that's where it used to be, that report. But due to changes beyond our control, we now have this report that we created. Business overview, reports. And then I run my canceled purchase order list. Now you'll see when I put canceled by vendor here, it shows up because I put it on the bill. So you could, it doesn't hurt anything. You're going to see it here as bill. And you can always click on it. So like you can see in my memo here, it gets cut off. It looks like something else was there. I can click on it and it will always bring up that transaction, that purchase order. And I can go down and read it. Oh, there was the date. So like I said, it doesn't hurt anything if you did it too many times. And hopefully this doesn't occur too often. And once you've done that, see, once you can grab on to one of those purchase orders, you can go through the bills that was attached to it, because you did pay some of the bill or for some of the items off of it. And here, I can also put it back here. If you put on both the bill and the purchase order, again, it doesn't hurt anything. Something like that. But then when I run my report, I'm going to see it twice. So here, you see I got it twice. So you want to keep it clean. I would just do it on the purchase order, because that's what they're canceling. They're not canceling getting paid. Nobody wants to do that. They want to get paid. So they're really canceling future deliveries on that purchase order. So like I said, the memo, you're pretty safe. There's not much you can really mess up unless you say something that's derogatory and you get caught. That would be bad. That happens on payroll a lot. People put in memos that can come back to haunt them, but usually with vendors, it's not an issue. It's just, see, it doesn't matter what text I put in, as long as I have that keyword canceled, it's going to show up here. If I misspell it, the computer's not going to be smart enough to figure, oh, you probably mean canceled on this. So it won't show. Okay. All right. Hey, it's 6:59. It's break time. We'll take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to get some new customers to sell to.
Practice. I guess I noticed a change from Thursday to
It's been 3 days. It was a good fun weekend, and you know, all kinds of stuff happens.
Friday. You feel like, Thursday you feel like a pro, and then Monday it's like, ooh, you just started. I think if you do the purchase order, each individual, I don't know, because I did all the 3 purchase orders, and then maybe that's what confused me. I don't know.
It can. And remember, everything we're doing in the classroom is not like it would be in the real world, because in the real world, you might have purchase order a day. Mondays are your purchase orders. You deal with those. And then you don't find out from the vendors as they go along. Like I said, some may never tell you and you have to call them up, or let's say you email it, and then this afternoon they call up and say, oh, you know, those teddy bears, we're done with those. I'll send you what I got. I got 5 left, but that's it if you want them. I say, okay. So that, you know, that point I could close the purchase order even before I have the bill, because they're putting them in a box and it's not going to come until tomorrow or next day. So you could do it in that order too. You do it in the order of which it actually occurs. Or you could try to remember it. See, I would forget. So I try to do things right away and get them done, and I don't have to worry about them. And lots of
Say
memos.
I go to the warehouse and purchase whatever. I wouldn't take them a purchase order, right?
Depends. How important is your time?
Oh,
You don't have to. And you can, by QuickBooks standards, you do not have to. And by business standards, you don't have to. You can go into warehouses anytime, but will they have it there? And see, purchase order is kind of like when you do the pickup deliveries, same kind of thing. They have to pick it out and put it in a box for you or bag or whatever, and they have it ready for you when you get there, and that'll save you time. But
okay.
in Modesto, there is a convenience store warehouse, and they have a chain of convenience stores, but they open it up to the public. So you can go in and you can buy candies, all the stuff, all the junk food they have in the convenience stores. But if you send a purchase orders, then it's packed up and ready for you when you get there. You just show them the purchase order, they give it to you, and then you don't have to pay for it when you leave because they're going to bill you.
Really?
If you have an account with them, and not just, I mean, no stranger can walk in. Hey, I've got a business. I want to take all these beers. Put the pallet in my truck. You know.
So you open up like a credit account with them?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what customers, when they have invoices with you, that's what they have. They have a credit account, even though it's not called that in QuickBooks. But that's what it is, because you're relying on them to pay. So, and some places will take that, some won't. We've ordered equipment sometimes for the school, and some will say, sorry, we don't take purchase orders from schools anymore. We got hit too many times. I said, really? Sorry to hear that, but okay. So, and then, like I mentioned before, when we set up purchase orders, some places can only do purchase orders. They won't buy anything cash on a cash basis. It has to be purchase order because you got that record there, and that's one more layer to hopefully keep fraud from happening and mistakes from happening.
So then what we need to do, because we've been just going to the warehouse and buying whatever it is that he needs to do service calls. So we need to contact them to try to open an account.
If you want to, sure.
Yeah, see, and I haven't let me.
Yeah, especially if you got a record with them, they'll say,
Yeah.
tell me one invoice.
Years, and now that we're licensed, you know.
Yeah,
Oh my God, okay.
and it's free. And then make sure you negotiate those terms. Make it,
Yeah.
how about you, 2 years? Can I have 2 years to pay you? But it does keep the little transactions, you know, to a bigger transaction. So you can get a bill to pay that could have 3 different orders on it at the end of 30 days or something, whenever they get around to it. Yeah, why not? Everybody else does it.
I know, well, I mean, I didn't know we could do that until we're, you know, given 30 days, and I thought, well, how does this work? Well, then we could reverse to.
If you think they're going to give you trouble, pick somebody, I don't know who you buy from, but pick a vendor. You think, well, yeah, they're cool with it. Get them to do it first, and then call the hard one up and you say, hey, you know, XYZ company just gave us terms. Could you guys do that too? That would be really helpful. So then, do you want to be like the cool kids, or do you want to be mean and not give us terms? You know, you're kind of using that as leverage, because it's up to the vendor. And I know, and you might hear a story about, well, we used to do that, but then everybody, and it's just like the signs you see, it's like in the pizza parlors, no checks accepted.
Yes, yeah.
One sign said, we have a deal with the banks. They won't make pizza, we don't accept checks. That's because they've been stung so many times.
Yeah.
But usually
I've seen where they even put them up on the windows and things like that with the packages.
Yeah. But even cash, they'll say no check or no bills over $100, because usually it's a lot of forgeries. Plus, you know, it's more tempting for criminals. But when they give you the terms, see, there's B2C, business to customer transactions, and B2B, business to business. Usually business to business It's a little bit more reliable. So you're more likely to get terms.
Oh, okay. So it's customer.
And you'll see if you read articles, they'll talk about B2B, B, the number 2 and the B, business to business.
So we're busy doing that.
Are you going to do the advanced class?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so in the advanced class, you can set up progress payments too. So, 25% down, 25% after a month,
Oh, okay.
like that.
Okay.
I think I mentioned earlier too, that if you're in a business where they are using the terms of their vendors to sell product to then turn around and pay those vendors, and that's all the cash they have on hand, find another job. Or tell them to buy some ads or do something, because that's really risking it. Because once you get a vendor mad at you, you can never go back. They don't want to deal with it. So you don't want to stiff your vendors. The other thing too, if you ever have to break terms, I would call. I like my philosophy is speak to the unspoken. If the vendor is going to find, the vendor is going to find out. If you pay, you got 30 days, but you're not going to have the money for a week later, I would call them ahead of time instead of having them find out on their own. Because sometimes you give them a heads up, they can prepare.
Yes.
And so I think that's a better way to go. And you want to stay friends with them.
Yes.
You say, just want to let you know.
And it's like even an appointment that you may have. If you call them, you're gonna let them know that you're gonna be late. and
Yeah,
say to
yeah.
whatever, "Oh, it's okay, we'll wait for you."
And things happen. Today, the West Campus of MJC was shut down because of a gas leak. It was actually Friday. We were supposed to do a drone practice for a demo we're doing. And they had to say, well, we'll do it Monday. And then today they said, nope, still can't. So I have to do it on Friday. I said, well, if you can't find it, just light a match. You'll find it.
You get a little bit singed, but
But it wasn't, I guess they found the leak right away. It was getting to it, doing the repairs, and then testing the whole system. All right, we are back. So we've been using the same customers over and over again. Let's add some more. But this time, instead of having you type them in, we're going to import them. The way to do it is the email I sent you had 2 links. And the first one was for customers. So this was the email. So click on list of additional customers.
gotta go to the email.
Yeah. So you can bring up your email.
I was gonna bring it up on my phone and I thought that doesn't.
You can, but you have to log into QuickBooks on your phone and do it on your phone. So what this is, it's just an Excel spreadsheet done in Microsoft Office 365. So if you're interested in the class, here's a preview. If you click on the email here, where'd it go? Oh man, did I close it? So if you click on the first link, it says customers, customer list. February 6th. Yeah, there it is. So this one here, list of additional customers. By clicking on it, what it's going to do, it's going to open an Excel worksheet in Microsoft Office 365. You don't have to have a license to use it, because what I did is on my worksheet here, I told it it's open to anybody who wants it. So it's open to anybody in the world. The only thing is, you have to know the code. The code, if you're ever curious, is here. So it's basically only the people I send the link to are going to get it. Notice when I hover over the list of additional customers, down at the bottom of my screen, it's going to show up here. It's going to show you the link. This is true, by the way, of any link before you click on it. Like if you get an email that says, this is your bank, your money was just stolen, and you're not sure, first of all, general rule, never click on a link in an email to get to your bank, because it could be a trap. Should always say, okay, well, that's too bad. Let me switch over. I'll log in like I normally do, and then I'll check it out. But the other thing you do is look down here at the bottom, and you can see, in order to get to this additional customer list, you would have to know to type in https://cbcwebcollege.my/SharePoint/x/g/personal blah blah blah, and then there's numbers FWX6M. See all that at the bottom? That's how Microsoft keeps track of each of its documents. It gives them this long code. How are you going to guess that? And who wants to guess it for a bunch of dumb names anyway? So when I sent this to you, you would have to know all this, or you have to have this link. And by clicking this link, sure enough, it comes up. So that's a way to know that it's relatively secure. The other thing you do is I could have put a password on it. Why add one more hassle? So here they are. So this is, as I mentioned, Microsoft Excel. You'll see we've got the names, there's company, email, and a lot of the same fields that we used before. So what you need to do in order for QuickBooks to work is you have to have it on your local computer. You need to download it. So you're going to make a copy of it. To do that, click on this word file in the upper left-hand corner. Yeah. Now here's the trick. You don't have to have Excel on your computer for this to work, because you're just saving the file. So there's File, Save As, and then download a copy. So anything that goes away from your computer is upload. Anything you bring to your computer is download. So I'm going to say download a copy. Yeah. And then you can see in mine, it says up here, shows this little folder. I have a folder, if you're using Windows, it defaults to a folder called Downloads. Or I can just click this folder up here. But wherever your downloads go, I can click on it. Yeah. Or if you bring up the File Explorer, if you're using Windows, you can click on this little file folder down here. This icon down at the bottom will bring up your Explorer, and you can see there's the name Downloads. And then you'll see the name Advanced Computer Upload, like our Advanced Customers Upload, pardon me. Now in my case, we do have Excel on these laptops. But if you're using your own laptop that doesn't have Excel, or a computer doesn't have Excel, you might not see this green X, but you can still see the file. And I'll be honest with you, Excel and Word are so universal. Almost every computer has a way to show, at least display those files. But even if it doesn't matter, because we're not going to have to open it. We know it's correct. We're just going to import it into QuickBooks, and QuickBooks is going to look for it. So that's the good part. Let's go back to QuickBooks once you have it downloaded. Now, once again, if QuickBooks wanted to make life easier, they'd let you download it from the web. And I'll bet, give them a couple updates, I bet they'll be doing that. So it takes out one step you'd have to do. But I'm going to go to my customers list. So you can go customers and leads, or you can go back to get paid and pay, then click on customers. Either way, so you see this customers.
Did you already import?
No.
Oh.
We downloaded it. Now we're going to import it. If you want it to be confusing, we're actually going to upload it into QuickBooks. So we download to upload. It's crazy. Okay, so we got new customer, and as you saw before, we always had this option to import customers. Well, now we have some customers to import. So I'm going to click on import customers. So this is the import customer process. And by the way, your vendors work the same way. Banking transactions work the same way. Items will work the same way. We're going to use, did you get this screen? Here? Okay, good. So it's going to say a CSV file or Excel file to upload. CSV is comma separated values. I think I mentioned that before. That's an old way of storing information. It just means that each like name, address is separated by a comma. Those are kind of old. Excel, that's pretty standard now. I'm going to click on browse because I have to point to it and tell it where to find the file I just downloaded. So I'm going to say browse. Then I'm going to click on, in my case, downloads. That's the folder it's in. And there it is. So I click that and open. The other option here is to use Google Sheets. Google Sheets is a version of Excel. You can connect. This would work, except then I got to use the password. Then we got to go to the password thing. So it is possible to use the online version or online files. It's just through Google Sheets. When you click on it, I click open, so you see it here. And then down in the right-hand corner, you're going to see next. Here, let's go. Let me see. Go back here. Go and cancel that. Okay, go to Excel. Yeah. File. That's good. Because when you save as, it'll take the file folder. Okay, so it's on your. All right, so back to QuickBooks. There they are. No extra charge. Good. Okay. So once you click next in the lower right hand corner, you're going to see this mapping screen. That's even called map data. And that sounds complicated, but it's really not. All it needs to know is which columns are what. So let me go back to my Excel here. In Excel, it's based on columns. So you'll see there's name here, column A, company, column B, etc. So that's what QuickBooks needs to know. You know, which one is phone number and which one's the fax number. So when I go back, it is possible that you might have extra information in your Excel worksheet that you're not going to use here. Let's say I had customer birthday. Well, I don't have that in QuickBooks. So I just won't map it. I'll say, don't send it over. So what QuickBooks does, it takes its best guess. And it goes through and it says, okay, you have a column named name. I'll bet that's the name of your customer. Well, I guessed right. So you'll see a little green circle here. So you just verify, you look at them and say, oh yeah, you're right. Good guess, QuickBooks. Company name under company, etc. So you can map them directly. If your column here had said instead of name, it had here customer. Like that. Okay, then QuickBooks says, well, wait a minute. We know we have a category named name. So that's okay. You could say, all right, name, customer means name, just by picking it from this list here. And that's what it's doing. So these are pretty straightforward. You'll see even got the phone numbers right. If they were reversed, I mean, I could remap instead of mobile number. I could say fax number means mobile number. Of course, that's not true. And you'll see there are a couple categories QuickBooks will let you import that we did not include in our Excel file, like the tax resale number. And if you had customer types, but we didn't use those. So you don't have to have all these checked off. And you'll see website, no match. Well, that's because there's no website listed on my list, which is perfectly fine. And even if there were, I might not want to include it for some reason. So you can always tell it no match. And you can override any of these. If I didn't want the fax numbers to come in, I could say no match, and it'll just ignore fax numbers. Okay. Next, the lower right-hand corner. It hasn't done it yet. Gives you one more chance. It says 10 customers are ready to be imported. Well, if I look back at my list, here, there's 10. Well, row 1 is the name, the column heading. So 1 plus 10 is 11, yeah. So I got all 10. At this point, you can exclude customers. You can also make changes. So if there's a typo here, we used to have a typo. Well, there isn't one. But if there is, you can, I'll put one in. You can make changes. So just like anywhere else, the boxes allow you to change things. So I'll go fix it again. So you can modify this. If you decide you don't want to exclude this customer or include this customer, you can exclude them by turning off the check mark. So if you had a list, of 1,000 and there's 2 you didn't want, you just go through, find them and turn them off. They will not be imported. Now, I don't know if you know this or noticed this, but these customers owe us some money. And one of the things you can import was their opening balances. So again, if you're moving over and switching programs from another program like Peachtree to QuickBooks, you can export their current balances and they'll come in. And that's good because then we're going to have to deal with all these late payments. Because look at this, 12/31/22. They owe us money from a while back. So any questions on this so far? If we've done our work correctly, we'll click on this import. And here they come. Yep. I told you they owe us cash. So here they go. Look at that. There they are. Just like that. Now there are some limitations, like we don't have, we think they owe us money, like Alleyway owes me $230. Why? From this, I couldn't tell you. I have to go back to the other system. So there is a limitation that doesn't import histories or things like that. But if you think that's a problem, you can always put a note. Remember, you can always go to the customer and make a little note on the customer from like whatever the transaction was. Here was the notes and attachment. So you can always put a notation here. See how easy that would be if you had hundreds of customers to move over? Much better than typing. Okay, let's do it again, but for vendors. So the other kind of vendor, we've been using the vendors that give us supplies for our shop. But you do have many different types of vendors. For example, the electricity, heating and air, your landlord, all those are vendors. Anybody you pay is a vendor. So we're going to add those too. So I'm going to go down here to vendors. So if you're using get paid and pay, go to vendors. Yeah, well, so this is the other way. I'm gonna start off with import vendors, but I haven't downloaded it yet. So you can open this screen at any time, but before we go further, I will have to go back to that email and list of additional vendors. So it comes up as an Excel file. You want to see the bad news? We owe these vendors some money already, opening balances, and we're late. It's okay. Okay, so just like before, I'm gonna go up here, left-hand corner, File, Save, because I need it on my computer first before I can get it into QuickBooks. So I'll save as, and then download to my computer. Or download a copy. Okay, let's go back to QuickBooks. Now I'm gonna remember from last time that they're in downloads. So when I click browse, now import vendors, browse, and then my download folder shows advanced vendors upload. Right next to customers. Now, here's where you gotta be careful. Remember we set up vendors and customers, and I said one of the good things about QuickBooks is they're very similar to each other. So if you learn one, you learn the other. Here's the other thing. If you're not careful, you can actually upload customers into your vendors and vendors into your customers. You have to kind of pay attention here. It's one word difference. I click on vendors. Usually though, you'll pick it up when you get to map it, the next screen. Okay, so there it is. I click next. Speaking of the mapping screen. But you'll see here, and when you look at Excel, the way this is made is the first column on both the vendors and the customers just says name, N-A-M-E. See how easy that could be to confuse things? So, you know, in something like this, if you're going to do this a lot, you might put vendor name just as another reminder, and then it's okay. What'll happen is you'll have to physically map it here, but you just click on the list here and it would say vendor name and click it, you're fine. Once again, you see everything that's mapped out. The only thing we don't have is tax ID. And if you find it is the wrong file, you can always go back, see the back button in the lower left-hand corner, and then pick the file again. Okay, so I'm gonna click next. So we got 9. There they are. Again, you can make any changes. And I'm going to import. Get it? Yeah, there they are. There's law offices, office supplies.
Smaller screen, and it doesn't show all my vendors, and I can't find my scroll down.
See if it's resized window.
I can fit my other.
Back to vendors. You don't want to click on the vendor, but try on the. Okay, go up arrow, watch the side. Really skinny. Okay. So we're back to vendors. Okay. We're going to vendors. Just already downloaded. And vendor.
100, you could like do something. Yeah. So you it's more of a. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Well, like reports, this is one of those things you might do once in a blue moon. So you think, oh, now how did I do that again? But it does save you a lot of time. And again, a lot of typos, because I would never get all those open balances correct. So we do have some open bills here. And of these, this is what's overdue. Yeah. So I'm going to click on the overdue, and you'll see how overdues look. Again, you don't get history, right? Just the name and how much it was due. So that has to be accurate. Otherwise, this won't work. But once again, you could put in comments or notes. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I could go through like we have been, and we can make payment, right? So let's do the first one. Boards, furniture, we'll make payment. So once again, we make sure it's out of our basic checking. But this is just like we were doing with our product vendors. You just save and close. And now they're off the list, right? When you have a lot of these, and this is going to be true whether they're the non-product vendors or the product vendors, and you want to pay them all the checks at once, we got a shortcut. What I'm going to show you is a shortcut. If this confuses you in any way, forget it. Forget what we're about to do. Go, you can do these one at a time. And I think I told you once, sometimes, just make payment, save and close, make payment. There's kind of something relaxing about that because you don't have to think very hard. You're just clicking and you're still doing work, right? But there's a shortcut. So where we go to find our chart of accounts on this cog up here. Oh, actually, I lied. I keep doing it. I'm sorry. Now I did confuse you. It's not there. It's over here under QuickBooks, New. There it is. So where it says New, it says Pay Bills. And you see it puts them all here at once. We could have been doing this all along with our vendor, but I wanted you to practice and get the idea of linking them together. But if you had some vendors to pay off, they would show up here too. We show you everything that's currently due or currently open, whether it's past due or not. Now, if you want a shortcut, click this top check mark. It puts check marks next to all of them and says this is what we're going to pay, and automatically fills in how much you're going to pay each one. And our intent is to pay them in full, right? But, if it's a lawyer's office and you say, you know what, I'm not going to pay them half. You can change the number here and there'll still be an outstanding balance. You can also take them off the list by putting that check mark and turning it off. So if you had 100 bills and one you did not want to pay, instead of checking 99 times, I would check them all and turn the one off because it's a lot faster. You can also see there's filters. So if I just showed, like I said, the last 365 days, let's say this week, and apply, I don't have anybody, right? Because these are old. So you can also decide which ones you want to pay from this list. So we're just going to go last 365 days, and there's everybody. Once again, you got to double check, make sure it's coming out of the right account. Is that what you want? Yes. Because When we were doing them one at a time, if you do them out of the wrong account, well, it's okay, just gotta go fix the one. If I do these out of the wrong account, I gotta go fix 4. There is no massive undo. Okay, so I'm gonna check them all. It tells me my balance at the top and then how much I'm about to spend and the final balance after this is done. And I'm going to save and close. Now, you remember me saying one of my complaints about QuickBooks is it doesn't always refresh. I'm back at my list. It says I still have 4 overdue. Well, I just paid them. Here's why. That little refresh on the browser will take care of it. I don't know why they didn't make a special effort to do this, but that's one of the drawbacks of using that pay all the bills deal. When I click refresh, and then it reloads, now 0 overdue.
It's going through all these things like link appointment method and all that stuff.
Did you do schedule payment? Yeah, go ahead. Just click up here. There. And browse. Type it into it. Over here, QB logo. Good. What? Okay. Click up here and go to enter. Okay. Logo. Go ahead and leave it. That's it. Okay. So close that. Okay. Put a check mark here. Okay. Down here, change it.
We're learning. Settings.
In the setting.
Let's go back here. Get out of that.
What I do is go into the settings. To learn more. That's where it should be. So when we did this one, same way. Yeah, okay, that works. Because it lets you do it this way. Yeah,
Now it does that, yeah.
it says onboard. Oh wait,
Oh, you did it.
Yeah, I don't know how
I
I did
think
it.
it's just, then why does it do it?
I don't know.
There.
Okay, there's your checking. Okay, so now yeah, don't schedule because then it'll be a future date. So when you're done, now we're back to 0 overdue, 0 open balances. Yes, because you have to refresh. Now that is directly QuickBooks' fault for not figuring that out. But if you hit that refresh button, that'll do it. Or just ignore it, and when you come back, it'll be gone. So let's take a look at our checking accounts. So I'm going to click that little wheel, go to the chart of accounts. And view register of the basic checking account. And you'll see these went out as bill payments. Okay, so now it's time to turn to the customers. So if you want to use Get Paid and Pay, and then look at your customer list, the customers don't have a shortcut. Customers have to pay one at a time. I'll click on the overdue. So yeah, we're done with vendors. If you look at your vendors, they should all be paid off. Took all our money. But what do they say in business? It takes money to make money. So one of the things you can do is you can send a reminder out. It's a little notice. Hey, this has not been paid. Or in our case, we're just going to receive the payment on the first one. And this will work just like it did before. Customer payments. And we'll save and close. See how that works? So that's easy. That's just the same. We're not going to do them all. We're going to leave some as overdue. So I got 4 left. So we're going to have to work around them because these people are going to hold on to their money and we're going to deal with them later. And we're going to hit them with a fee, late fee. That'll teach them. So for now, let's go back to the good customers. Right now, I'm only showing the ones that are overdue. So I'm going to clear my filter. And there's everybody, including the customers I put in from the very beginning who have zero balances. So let's go ahead and do 4 invoices for the good customers who don't have a balance, and then receive their payments directly to checking. Make 4 invoices. So our old ones, don't use the new customers for this. No, you're going to create invoice, customers. Yeah, so again, any customers you like. So there it is, receive. Oops, went too far. So like mine, Merry Christmas. I'll go to Merry Christmas. She was the top of my list before. Create invoice. Yeah, we haven't done the estimates yet. Right by her name, it has to be somebody who doesn't have a balance. If they have a balance, it won't show at the top. It'll say receive payment. So see how here's Mary. Yeah, we paid Allie. You could do Allie if you wanted to. She's a new one. So then create invoice.
We're selling our product.
Right. 4.
That's kind of good because all of my customers are.
Yes, if it doesn't show up automatically, please check the mark for tax. And we'll save and close. And then if you want to do the payment now, you can receive payment on them, or you can do the next one. Choose anything you like. Create invoice. Yeah, and save and close. The tax? Okay, do you remember who it was? Okay, so click on that customer's name. And then it should show invoice at the top up here. Whoever it was. And click on that invoice, and then you can edit the invoice. Putting the check mark next to tax. Then save and close. So I'll do Walgreens. 4. Now, how can you tell if you've done the 4? You got to do a little math.
We have 4 and 4 and have 8. So
Oh, no, it's ready. Yeah, then you can pay them, but you only want to pay the ones who you just did. I'll show you. So you'll see the ones we uploaded, we'll call them the bad 4. They're the overdue. They're the reds, or I guess it's orange. See, I know I did 3 so far because my open invoices are 7. The bads are 4. So 7 minus 4 is 3. When I click here on the open invoices, you can see the names of the ones I did down below at the bottom. So I'm going to go my customers again. We're going to get paid from them, yes. Receive payments directly to checking. Oh, they'd love it if you pay them. You're giving me stuff and you're paying me? Only receive the payments on the ones we just made, right? Not on the bad ones. The ones that you just did, they should be names that you created rather than the ones we just uploaded. If you want to see who's not, you click on the overdue invoices, or the other thing to do, if you look at your whole customer list, you can click on the 4 overdue and I'll show you the names and compare them to the other names. When I click on the 8 open invoices at the top, the gray box, you can see them.
Were they the first 4 ones in the top?
They should be ones, I'll tell you one thing, they won't have email addresses.
So the ones that don't, they were the phone number?
Mhm. And then you can just receive their payments.
We paid to those?
We're gonna get paid from them. Yeah.
Oh, paid to those.
Otherwise, you go to business real fast.
Yeah.
Or, do you ever watch those couponing shows?
Oh, yeah.
Crazy, for a while, there's a fad
Mm.
where the store had to pay them.
Is it real?
I actually did that once.
Yeah.
Accidentally.
You
I was in Safeway and they had something that said, whatever it was, some like sliced meats. And it said $1 off. And the package said 50 cents. It was a markdown. So I went up there and I gave the coupon. She rang it up. She said, oh, you get 50 cents back. So they paid me to take it. Now, did they? No. What's going to happen is a manufacturer's discount was $1 off. So they're going to send it back. They're going to get their dollar from the manufacturer. But I felt like, wow, I'm going to go one of those shows. That's right, extreme couponing. And then, now some of those were setups, but it does work. It doesn't work as well now, or it's actually easier because everything's on the phone.
Mhm.
When we go to like a craft store or something, people hold their phone and they'll scan it, and now they get a discount on one item or something.
So when you're paying the invoices,
You're not paying,
for me, receiving,
right?
okay, receiving.
The payments for the invoices for your
Because I
customers.
have 5 in open and 4 in overdue.
Okay.
They're closed.
So there's one more.
So there's one more that I need to
Yes.
figure out which one it is.
Well,
You can always find out, just click on the open invoice.
so it says for open, and then you can see which one it is.
And you can tell by date.
Because it doesn't have an email.
That's right.
If it says status overdue,
That I created?
Yeah, but you created that mistake. But this is the one for recording, so they have-
See,
No, no, no.
Dusty Wins is not mine. But-
No.
Oh,
See, that's why.
that's a new one.
oh, so you used one of the ones that was imported? That had a.
I did.
I don't know, let's see.
Because see, I wrote down
Yeah.
the ones that had that ode
Okay.
right here, and now I'm thinking,
Yeah,
Alright,
that
so
would
go
be, they
to-
didn't have an open balance probably.
this one? Oh,
Yeah, so we did one for that imported.
Okay, so that's all right.
so I shouldn't have done an imported one?
No, it's okay. Go ahead and click on that one of the looks for best. Yeah, you know, I could tell. It would say status overdue, if that was the wrong one.
Oh,
So you can also look by date, today's date,
yes, that's what I noticed
Good.
right there.
so receive payment.
So receiving, even though he has until,
Yes, or everybody's paying early. Everybody who you made up is paying early. The ones I had you upload, they're the ones who will.
okay.
Then take a look at your check register. So this could be a little confusing. The other thing though is, remember, paperwork drives everything. So whoever's paying, it doesn't matter whether they're a new customer or old customer, whose name is on the check. Oh, it's Merry Christmas. So it doesn't really matter whether she's an old customer or not. She's paying now, and that's what I'm going to record. The way we're doing it, we're kind of just making them out of thin air. It gets a little confusing that way. But you can always look at this open invoice, and if they're an invoice that's overdue, it's going to be a red overdue right there. So you can always check. That tell you something about your customers or about you?
Yeah, same thing. You sold them the same exact thing.
Okay, so now let's check my check register. Yeah, I made some money back. And there we go. Technically, the transaction is closed. It won't be stamped that like purchase orders are, but yeah, it's done. Allie, well, like, Merry Christmas here. So she placed an order, paid it, we're done. So that's closed. If they hadn't, it would show as an open balance like we have those that we uploaded. So like I said, this is where it gets a little tricky, because in the real world, by the end of the day, all your customers wouldn't have paid you off. Some have more days in their 30 days. Some might pay early, some might wait till the last day or whatever. So it's kind of a range of things. Any questions on what we did? Told you this gets interesting. Okay, then we are done for the evening. Now you know how to upload files.
My desktop is totally different from this.
Yeah, I have to look in the settings. There is one in reports. So in reports, you could say classic view, but I don't know how to turn it back. And I think that's what's doing it. You're showing the new view, which we should all be doing because eventually they're going to make it for everybody and get rid of classic view. I told you, just when you get used to it, then they got to go change it. Most of the time it's a good change, but sometimes. Yep. You're welcome. Have a good night.
So Thursday will be the last day for this basic.
Right.
And then.
And next week's off, and the week after that we'll come back.
Oh, that's right.
It's another 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We haven't done it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I was asking the gal, so they don't, there's no testing or anything like that before we transition to the another. No.
No, I know if you weren't ready, because you'd be saying, I'm lost.
I know.
See? It's one of those things that's so cumulative that if you didn't learn the first day, you'd be having a lot more troubles right now.
Yeah, I know. And you know, I took this class before, but it was on Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
And so I have my notebook and I wrote notes and everything, but I was literally lost there. So that's why I felt like I needed to come here. And now it makes sense because I'm actually seeing everything that you're, that you're doing.
Yeah, it's just different ways. That's why we do it both ways now. That's one of the good things to come out of the shutdowns was now we can do it both ways.
Yes.
And we've had students who like will go through the class halfway online and say, I'd have to come in.
Yeah.
I'm going nuts.
And then last year in September, we were on a trip and we were on our way back. And so I was logging in and everything. And then when I got back, I got sick and I found out that I had COVID.
Oh, no.
I got COVID from somebody, we went to Mexico. And the lady, I didn't want to approach anybody or anything. And she's like, no, I have allergies. It's okay. It's allergies. Yeah, when I got back to California, I thought, oh.
Some allergies, right?
Allergies. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a safe trip home.
Thank you. You too.
Okay.